question 5 here, we start getting into some two-dimensional trigonometry. Now they've given us a graph here, or a drawing of a triangle on a Cartesian plane, and they've told us that PO to OR, that ratio, PO to OR, is 2 to 3. They've given us the coordinates of P, they've given us the angle here, 63.43 degrees. They've told us that S is the midpoint of PT by showing us these two lines here, and they told us that S is the y-intercept of PT, just to make sure we know that that point is on the y-axis. Okay, let's see what questions they ask us. 5.1.1. Determine the gradient of PT correct to the nearest integer. So the gradient of this line PT. Now, the only coordinate we have is -5 and 0. So we can't use any other coordinates. We can't use the normal m equals change in y for change in x. But we do have this angle, and we know also that the gradient is equal to tan of theta. As long as we know that theta is the angle between the positive x-axis and the line. So if the line was over here, that way, we would have to go all the way there to find the angle that the positive x-axis makes with the graph. But in this case, it's acute, so that's fine. We just use it straight away. So we can say that m is therefore equal to tan of 63.43, and you can just type that on your calculator to find that the answer to that is 2, rounded off to the nearest integer. Okay, 5.1.2. The equation of PT in the form y equals mx plus c. Okay, so let's just write down, we know we need to look for y equals mx plus c. So the gradient of PT is m, and we saw that that is 2. So now we already know that y is equal to 2x plus c. The only unknown now is a c. All we need is one equation, so we can substitute any point on this line into this equation to find our missing c value. So P is the only point we know. We'll substitute in P. Say sub in P, which is -5 and 0. So we have that 0 is equal to 2 times -5 plus c. Solving for c, we get 2 times -5 is -10. Bring that across the other side. 10 equals c. So our final solution to this question is y equals 2x plus 10. There we go, that's the equation of PT. Next question, they ask us to determine the distance PS in surd form. Okay, this distance PS in surd form. So how will we do that? Well, we can use PS, SO, and PO, and because we know that this is a right angle, we can use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, let's try and do that. So we'll say that PS squared is equal to PO squared plus SO squared. Okay, PS squared equals, what is PO? The distance here, well, that's the origin. This is -5, so this distance is 5. Okay, so that's 5 squared plus. Now what are the coordinates of S? Well, we know that S is the y-intercept of PT, and we calculated the equation of PT to be 2x plus 10. Therefore, the coordinates of S are 0 and 10. So we know that the distance between the origin and S is 10 units. Well, we can just plug that in here. SO is 10 units. Square that. So then PS squared equals 5 squared plus 10 squared. That's 25 plus 100, 125. Now we take the square root of both sides, and we have that PS is equal to square root of 125, and we can simplify that to 5 square root 5. That is it in surd form. 5.1.4. The coordinates of T. Here we have T. Now, on first thought, it looks like we probably want to use a simultaneous equation for these two lines to solve it. But then we realize we don't have the equation of TR. and we have no way of finding it because we don't know r, we don't know t. But then we see that these two lines are equal length, and we know p, we know s, so all we need is t, or we can use the midpoint formula. So we know that s is midway between p and t. Okay, so what does the midpoint formula say? It says the midpoint of p and t is equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and the y value would be y1 plus y2 also divided by 2. But now we have p and we have s. We're looking for t. So we have the answer to the midpoint equation. So we know the x value has to be 0 at the end. Okay, so we know that this value here has to be 0. So we'll say 0 is equal to x1, we'll say is -5. So that's -5 plus the x value of t, which we'll call x2, over 2. And if we simplify that, multiply both sides by 2, we get 0 is equal to -5 plus x2. Solving for x2, we get x2 equals 5. So x2 equals 5. That's our x value of t. We'll do the same for y. Our y value's answer will be 10 of that equation. So we know that this whole equation will equal 10. We'll say that 10 equals y1 plus y2 all over 2. Multiply both sides by 2, we get 20 equals y1, which we said is 10. Y1 is this value here, which is 0. So y1 is 0 plus y2. So therefore y2 is equal to 20. And now we just make sure we write it in the right form. They want the coordinates of t, so we'll just say t is 5 and 20. Let's just fill it in there as well for future reference. 5 and 20. Okay, 5.2, determine the coordinates of r. Here we go. Now we've got a little bit more information to work with. Coordinates of r. Okay, well, we could also use this part here. That'll probably be easier. The ratio of PO to OR is 2 to 3. So PO is 5. So OR, how will we calculate that? Well, let's just do the calculation. We know that PO to OR is equal to 2 to 3. So therefore, PO we know is 5. So 5 to OR is equal to 2 to 3. And now another way of saying ratio is just to say divided by. So we'll rewrite this as 5 over OR is equal to 2 divided by 3. Okay, we can just swap this around because we need to find the OR. So we'll say that implies that OR over 5 equals 3 over 2. And finally, that implies if we multiply both sides by 5, we have that OR is equal to 5 times 3, 15 over 2. That's our ratio. Or 7.5 if you prefer decimals. And finally, calculate the area of triangle PTR. So that's the big one here, PTR. What is the equation or the formula for calculating the area of a triangle? Well, the easiest one is half times base times perpendicular height. Let's see if we can apply that here. Well, we know the distance of the base, but do we know the height? We don't know TR, but that doesn't matter because we need the perpendicular height. And luckily we know the y value of t, and that is our perpendicular height of the point T. So what we have here is the area of a triangle is half times base times perpendicular height. Okay, well, let's fill in what we know. Well, we know a half remains a half. The base PR is equal to PO plus OR, as we can see here. PO plus OR. So PO we said is 5, and OR is 7.5, so that's 12.5. So the base is 12,5. And the height, we said, is the y value at t. The y value at t is 20. So that'll be our height. That is equal to a half times 12.5 times 20 is equal to 250. So half times 250 will leave us with a final answer of 125 square units. Square units. Again, that's it for question 5.